I did it. I just did a quiet clap because I am coming to you live out of, is it Dallas, Texas? I am, every Friday we are doing this mastermind summit. Super pumped. Today we have Michelle Castle, the one and only. I've interviewed Michelle a lot. I'll do a formal introduction in a minute with her. But before I do that, Todd, anything you want to say to everyone to frame the call before we kick it off?
It's always amazing to have Michelle on. And, I think just the reminders, right? If you haven't bought your virtual ticket for the Modern Mortgage, Modern Real Estate Summits, do so. I just heard the folks at Cliff Co. in New York, they're going to have 100 real estate agents. They have 10 loan officers. Every loan officer is bringing 10 agents to their Modern Real Estate Summit watch party. So remember, 2 events for the price of 1. And I just feel like it's such an opportunity. If you are not going to have a reason to call your realtors, this is it, right? It's super easy to set this up. And we also have some amazing mortgage folks in the morning as well. So, that's just my sales pitch for the day. And of course, it's always great to see Deborah Bird. She just dressed up all fancy. Looks like you're presenting today, Deborah.
I am. I'm actually in Southern California and will be presenting for Cindy Ertman's group. But I also just want to remind everyone with the Modern Mortgage Summit that you can buy the virtual pass for the year. And, it was Walt Schultz where I'd flown out to his event. He hosted a Modern Real Estate Summit. It was later in the year. I think it was like November. And they were so appreciative. Lower. And so talk about a way to bring, massive value. So for those of you who haven't yet, do what they said. Make sure you go to modernmortgagesummit.com. Again, I'm not trying to sell it for any reason. But other than it's going to be an opportunity for you to bring massive value, especially later in the year. So don't feel like you have to have everything ready by, 2 weeks, but we're 2 weeks away, guys.
But what a great way to go ahead, Dave.
Go ahead, Michelle. No, you go ahead,
Well,
Michelle.
just what a great way to leverage events. I like providing information of value, and real estates right now are so flipping out. I mean, Wall Street Journal, came out with an article, and, it's like, how am I going to stay in the business? So I'm just, love on your people. So if real estate business is the business that you're in as a loan officer, what a great way to provide value. And there's just so much comfort for them whenever you're providing these professionals that all you're doing is hosting a watch party.
Yeah, no doubt. And a couple of my thoughts before we bring Michelle on stage is guys, this is a very, very, very special event. I mean, when you look at the top producing mortgage professionals, they're some of the most successful people in the mortgage industry. They're some of the most authentic people in the mortgage industry. They all have very different strategies, and then they do have some commonalities. We've got some new people on, but think about this. Look at this group of mortgage professionals, and then look at this group of real estate professionals. There's a few more that are going to be added. Where else can you go? And they're 15-minute presentations. We still have 20 some odd tickets left at $1,000. So where else can you go to an event, whether you're in person, and network with this group of loan officers, some of the most successful people in mortgage, or get the virtual event, get the pass for an entire year. We do have some bonus speakers in the virtual event, so we'll announce those in the coming weeks, who's going to be only available in virtual. Get that link down below, check it out. So let me bring Michelle on stage now. So Michelle is a team leader, a top producer. She's also a coach. She's also a coach to the coaches at Guild Mortgage. Michelle, you lead the coaches of the top producer group. What's it called?
The coaching program with Guild is called Elevate, and so I coach the level 4 coaches, and then coach also. Yes.
And
so
4,
our struggles are different and unique. Do what?
Oh, I was going to say, so that's the most successful coaches.
It is, and it is, and typically top producers in the mortgage industry, for some reason, we all think that, okay, you do a lot of loans, so you must be a great manager. And, we're not trained to be business people in some cases, but, because you do a lot of loans, you just qualify for that role. So I think, being a top producer and managing people and a P&L and, just all of the things and making sure that you've got good culture so that you continue to do business as a branch is just another level of challenges. And so typically our level 4, it's a group of top producing, typically their managers also. So it's just a really unique, fun group. And I just love coaching and supporting that group.
Well, we love to have you here and coaching and supporting this community. So you picked the headline. Before we, kind of kick off the headline of purpose and passion and how you're winning, how are you guys doing over the past couple of weeks? How is business for you right now?
Oh my gosh, it feels like we're in business again. It has been so fun. It's been longer days, later nights, but we are just loving it. It's just crazy how just all of a sudden, but you know what? I have been training for this for the last year and a half, waiting for it to start raining loans again. And I just hope these, this spring continues this momentum. I'm loving it.
Like how
I
many
feel like I'm a
loans
loan
over
officer again.
So how many apps over the past 2 weeks, or 2.5 weeks? How much?
We've received, so last week was 27 referrals. This week, last night when I looked, it was 17 referrals. And those aren't just like internet leads. Those are like highly referred referrals. So we've been really busy apping people and structuring loans and getting them out there house hunting. And we've disclosed 25 loans in the last 2 weeks. I'm telling you, it feels like we're in business again. Like we're gonna live. It's great.
Yay!
I love that. And anyone listening to this, let us know how many loans, how many referrals have you gotten over the past 2 weeks? We're in the middle of March. It's actually the 15th. We are right in the middle of March. Where are you at? Where are things at? Let's do a little pulse check. Also real quick, you picked this headline. What was your passion for picking the headline of today's call?
Well, Dave, I got in this business by accident almost 30 years ago. I mean, I was at this point in my life, I was supposed to be running car dealerships for my dad. That was what I was brought up to be and do. And then all of a sudden he and I got in a fight. He fired me and I had to have a job. I was a single mom. And I went and talked to a lady that was in the mortgage business because I thought car business, mortgage business, like everybody else, has got to be the same, right? And she hired me on the spot, and she still to this day bosses me around. So, but I found this business. I loved this business. I poured my heart and soul into this business. And about 25 years into it, I really lost myself to this business. And my kids were grown when I learned what impact I had had on their lives because I poured my heart and soul into the business more than I did in, taking care of the family. I took care of the family. I provided for the family, but there was a lot of times that I wasn't present. And I was, so I had that pause moment where it was like, really, do I want to continue to do this business knowing the impact that I had on my daughters and our relationship, or do I want to do this business differently? And I chose to take that moment to really reflect and figure out what part of this business do I truly enjoy? How do I set some boundaries around that? And how do I redesign how I do business so that I can be better at all of the things that really matter to me in life? So that it's been a fun journey for me. And I've found enough clarity about that path that now I can help share that with others, where it's really, if you're at that point where maybe you're near burnout, or maybe you're about to lose your family, or maybe you've just seen what the business has done to important relationships or your health, and you want that pause moment, I finally have put some structure around really, how do you find that pause moment and you really figure it out? What are you truly passionate about? because the money comes when you do more of what you're passionate about, right? I mean, it's just a lot easier. So
I love
that's
that.
why I chose that topic. Yeah.
Love that topic. And I loved that you talked about purpose and passion. What is purpose mean to you, and what do profits mean to you? Like, how do you define those two things?
So just being more intentional. I mean, like for me, I love to empower people through education. I love watching people, that light bulb go on, and education allows that because I mean, what we do for a living can be complicated to people. It can be overwhelming. It can be confusing. It can be emotional. And a lot of times people are scared to share that because they're in, I mean, let's just face it. You're talking to a loan officer that's intimidating sometimes. So empowering people through education is one thing that I'm very passionate about. I love to educate and empower real estate industry too through education. So for me, finding a way for me to, that's a purpose of mine. I really, truly enjoy educating, and that's just even from childhood. Deb, you're an educator at heart. And so, you know, just finding that passion and how do I change how I do business so I get to do more of that. And then, of course, work is a lot more fun when you're doing that.
Well, it's kind of interesting to talk about pausing, right, to figure this all out. And I feel like people have been kind of stuck for so long, and then now, you know, you're busy. I don't think everyone's fortunate enough to be in the busy mode yet, but I feel like it's definitely coming for more folks. So how do you encourage someone to actually sit back, think about it, you know, if they are struggling, identify it, and then actually take action?
So everybody's quiet place or happy place is different. For me, it is trees and water. If I go get quiet around trees and water, I can clear my mind and my head. Now, if you're not used to clearing your mind and head, and you're a crazy mortgage ninja like we are, then really allowing yourself, if this is a new practice, sometimes just 2 minutes of being quiet and reminding yourself whenever you're sitting there trying to be quiet and you're just gazing off into nature and you're trying to tell yourself, okay, I need this mindful moment. I'm going to listen to the birds. I'm going to feel the air around me and feel the breeze. I'm going to smell the smells that are around me. Like, have your brain be busy doing those things instead of thinking allows that pause moment. And so, Todd, to answer your question, we don't always get to tell family, hey, time out. I'm going to go run away for 3 days, right? Sometimes it's just those little moments where you can just sit still with yourself for a moment so that you can clear your head. And then the next step for me is just writing down, what are the things that I really enjoy doing? Just writing a list, set a timer, and allow yourself just to free write all of the things that you enjoy doing. It could be in the mortgage business. It could be with your family. It could be doing, you know, whatever it is that you enjoy doing. And looking at that list then and analyzing it. Okay, how do I be more intentional about how I'm spending my time to do more of this? And how do I build a business around doing more of this? And sometimes it doesn't come to you the first time you try it. Maybe you got to get
Michelle,
up early.
I have a question for you on that, because I feel like there's two types of loan officers right now. Some of the loan officers that I'm speaking with, they've been in the business for maybe 20, 25 years, and they almost feel like they're starting over. And it's this, they have fear. It still feels like it's their purpose, their passion. It's also all that they've done for 20, 25 years, but they are measuring part of their success and feeling like they're a good, you know, loan officer by their income, which the income has drastically been cut in half. And so that's an ego struggle that is, you know, some that they're having to work through. But there's also this fear of like, shit, like I have to really improve. Like the market and the consumer needs are changing quickly. And maybe like the thought of learning how to set up a TCA or embracing some of this technology or social media is like overwhelming, because it's not necessarily a skill set that they had been practicing since they were in school. And so they rack up all these things of what they know they need and should and could be doing. And it's like they almost don't even know where to begin, and they feel like a fish out of water.
Mhm.
So they're at this point in life where it's like, I don't want to call it a midlife crisis, but they're struggling inside. And I have found the men aren't typically talking about their emotions as much. In fact, Ryan Grant had a great keynote at Momentum Builder talking about, mental health, and he touched on this a little bit. But what would you say to that LO that's like, I feel like I have to start over, and it's
Well,
a
so
lot to learn?
there is a lot to learn, but number one, who is your ideal client and what do you need to learn to serve them better? Like, learning all of the things is impossible all at one time, right? And doesn't really matter. So what do I need to learn to serve my people better? But that might mean you need to figure out who you do enjoy serving. For me, it was really like, I really looked at my list of real estate agents that I do business with. And I go, which one, when their name pops up on my phone, do I cringe? All right, delete. And so like getting more clear, like customers, like what kind of customers do I relate best with? And what tools do I need to have in order to serve them better? And so I think really allowing yourself to look at, out of all of the loans that you've closed, maybe not for the last 2 years, but at least for the last year, there's enough of a list there. Maybe you got to go back 2 years, maybe you got to go back 3 years and figure out, who did I do business with? How did I do business? What kind of business do I want to do moving forward? And what tools do I need to better serve them? Does that make sense?
Yes, it's perfect.
Because you're right. There are so many subscriptions. Like I even had to start, of course, we've all been analyzing where we've been spending money, right? And so you're going through your phone in that subscription section and going, okay, what subscriptions do I need here? And then you go through your credit card charges and you go, okay, what subscriptions do I really need? But getting more clear about really what do you need? And what do you need to delete and what do you need to add?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm.
And guys, y'all interact with us too. If you guys have questions for Michelle, make sure you put them in the chat or in the Facebook group, and y'all keep them coming.
Yeah, for sure. I was thinking you got your new new loan officers too, Deb. So like when you're new in the business, I can't imagine how overwhelming it is because there's so many different loan programs and there's so many different ways to do a business. And so if Kathy, I'm going to come back to that in just a few minutes, but there's so many different ways to do business, but getting clarity about how you want to do business. And again, to your point, like, how do I build a business around the people that I really want to serve? And that's going to change as you get experience, right? You may decide, hey, first-time home buyers are just really way too needy for me. Give me the investors. And then you shift how you do business. But the different personalities for the different loan programs you're using. And you can figure out if you really want to work with those people. Yeah. First home IQ, if you're like, Dave and I were talking about earlier, if you're an educator at heart and you like your first time home buyers, there's so many tools and resources that makes it easy for you to attract those people. And I think that's the biggest thing is when you're real clear about who it is that you want to serve and how you want to serve, and you're serving from the heart because you've made that intentional decision, then you can so easily attract more of those people, but you got to get clear. And, hi, Dave.
Hey, Michelle,
Yeah.
you've always been really active in your local community, just helping people. I mean, the people in your local community, and I'd love to see more mortgage people investing in their communities, schools. Would you mind just, because you call this passion and purpose, or purpose and profits? How do you serve your community, and how are you integrating your role as a first home IQ ambassador into your local community? Like, what do you plan to do with first home IQ and other things?
So I do believe in being hyper local. I'm licensed in all of Texas and Oklahoma, but what I do well is serving my community and just being that that person that people trust as a trusted advisor. And so, being involved, I'm involved in a lot of, what I've learned is I don't have to serve on every board in order to be a supporter of my community, but just being present in the boards that do really speak to me, children and families, mental health. And so just being present in my community by serving in that capacity is how I choose to be involved in the community. But I also have a heart for small businesses and entrepreneurs. So supporting that, you guys, we have a voice in our communities. Just think, I mean, even if you have 500 friends on Facebook, if you're sharing your passion and you're promoting other people, other businesses in your community, you're really helping your small business and entrepreneurs in ways that a check doesn't always help them with. It's our voice, it's our influence. And so I choose to use my influence in my community to help others. And we all have the ability to do that. And then also just providing information through First Home IQ. I think because I have such a big presence, I keep my social presence local. And this sounds really crazy, but I unfriend as much as I friend because I'm trying to be intentional. I don't want to get to the public figure space. And Dave, maybe you can tell me that that's silly of me to limit myself, but I friend people intentionally in a way that I can help others. So back to your point, I know because I have an influence, being able to use First Home IQ's social media content is huge because it's attractive. I can brand it in my colors. I can't have content at my fingertips so easily. And then the presentations are already put together for me. So I can go out in my community and talk to small groups, which has been my favorite lately, is talking to the small groups. So we have conversation around just education with all dollar signs, money matters, mindset around money. And then also just the importance of establishing credit and what is good credit, what is not your best credit. Love the content. And you make it, you and Todd make it just so flippin' easy through First Home IQ. So thank you for creating that community.
Well, and Deborah Bird was the first ambassador, and Kristen Messerly runs it.
Of course she was, because Deborah's amazing like that.
Yeah,
thank you.
right on.
I can see your voice in there. Yeah.
It's
So
been kind of
any
interesting
tips, Michelle, for those who, go ahead, Todd.
Well, I was just going to say, it's been really interesting for me with First Home IQ because what I find, like I'm in an entrepreneur group, and if I lead like, I do, speaking and training in the mortgage space, or if I lead, I've got a big mortgage team that I still, kind of run, but I got other people who run, there's really no excitement from them.
Yeah.
But as soon as I said at my last group meeting, I've co-founded a nonprofit called First Home IQ. We're super blessed to have 100 primarily loan officers out there really spreading the word, and our goal is to have 1,000 by the end of the year. Everyone comes up regardless of what their business is and says, oh my gosh, financial literacy, we need that. How can I help that mission? And so it's just one of those things that I think differentiates you as a loan officer, differentiates you whenever you're in a room meeting other people. And it gives you an ability to have a platform. And the cool part about it, Michelle already talked about, you got to get rid of some of your monthly expenses, but the ambassadors that we have although we do have some who commit to a fixed donation per month, most are donating per transaction that they close. And so really it's based on their success. And I just think it's a great opportunity if you're struggling with what is your value proposition out there. And if you truly believe in financial literacy for the youth of America, it's just a great opportunity for you to jump in. And the content that the team has put together is, blown me away. I mean, I just feel like they've operated at a huge level, and it's officially a 501c3 now. It took a lot of hurdles to jump through for the team, but we're there as well.
You know what? I also I had something I was going to add to that. I can't remember. I'll come back to it in a minute. Deb,
all right, Deborah, what was the question? I cut you off.
Well, I was just thinking how, you're like y'all's clients, those who are part of First Home IQ, I think it's important to share with your clients, that's also, you know, a portion of every loan goes back towards this nonprofit and what it's doing, not just locally, but, you know, globally, that no one likes to pay interest and no one likes to pay insurance dues. I'm not even going to go into my soapbox about insurance for any of you who have been following my story on social, but
Nice kitchen.
when you learn that, yeah, when you learn that some of it could be going towards a good cause, and, you know, maybe you get creative that, you know, 30 days after closing, maybe there's a nice little certificate that could go to that family so that they feel like that they've also contributed to something bigger than just the home that they purchased. Everyone, that's one of those higher needs that people chase, and makes them feel, you know, purposeful with how they spend their money. And I think that could really go a long ways of just honoring each client that chooses you. Maybe it's on an email signature. You have another landing page that lets them see, like, here's all the kiddos we're touching, you know, across the country. And every client has a part to play in that. And sometimes they don't know because we make it about us. And so my point to all of this is, remember to always make the client the hero. We're just the guide, and it'll go a long ways. So just a thought.
That gives me a great idea, because then, you know, just because they bought a home doesn't make them a money expert, right? Now they got a new home, they got more payments and all of the things. So that is also a great opportunity to invite them to the next Money Matters, mindset around money, you know, all of that fun stuff. Yeah. I could create a whole. And I just think right now, in our industry, we have a time like we've never had before, where we can be consumer direct. And you know, what a great way to create that consumer direct funnel by providing information that helps empower them to make decisions through all of content that's already provided. I don't have to do anything but schedule an event, invite people, show up.
Right. See, there you go.
Yeah, I took one this week from the Jeremy Forcier playbook, right? Jeremy talked about the fact that loan officers struggle with coming up with an idea of a reason to call people. So we've already given you a few, right? One is, hey, I'm going to be hosting a watch party for the Modern Real Estate Summit. Now, again, as Deborah mentioned, even if you didn't do it live, you could do it the next week and just watch the recording with people. You could watch over, we have 7 speakers. You could watch over the next 7 months, 1 speaker a month, and host a mastermind around each one. My play out of the Jeremy Forcier playbook was live on my coaching group. I said, hey, I'm going to schedule a happy hour on Thursday. I looked up, or this week. And so then I was like, okay, that's not specific enough. That's not going to hold me accountable. So I pulled out my planner and I looked at what my calendar was. And I'm like, there's only one time I can do that. That's Thursday night, because I was going to see MJ the musical. It was amazing, by the way. If it comes to your town, you have to go see it. And then I planned a 90-minute happy hour. And it gave me an opportunity to call people. And, you know, the funny part is that a lot of people are like, oh, that's such an amazing idea. Sorry, I can't come, but thanks for inviting me. Invite me to the next one. And just had a small showing, but it doesn't really matter who shows up. It's the fact that it gave me a reason to call, take massive action, as Bill Hart has recently said. And so I would just think about what are the things that you can do to create conversation and get in front of people. We tend to overthink it because we're perfectionists, and we just need to continue to operate imperfectly in this crazy world we live in.
You know, and what I learned too, another tip whenever you are doing, you know, whenever you're creating that event or that moment, to be able to, number one, there is power in the promotion, even if 5 people show up. But number 2, go ahead and have the next event already planned so that when they attend the current event, you can invite them to the next event, which then helps to build that momentum. So Todd, get another event on your calendar.
You know, I appreciate that. My next event is the Modern Mortgage Summit. So that makes it really easy for me. I'll be there live.
Yeah. But you know, if you're going to do a watch party, then it should be a series of watch parties. I'm going to have 6 watch parties, and these are going to be the dates and the times. And here's the QR code to go to Eventbrite and sign up. Eventbrite sends the reminder out. And now all of a sudden you've got them into your little ecosystem of 6 series of watch parties for modern day. If you're going to watch virtual or create that content for the rest of the year, once a month, you're going to do it, whatever it is. Keep in mind,
a watch party could be you bringing your laptop to Starbucks and sitting there with your favorite realtor watching it next to you, with each of you having one headphone in, right? It doesn't have to be something big. It could be a couple people in your office. It could be 10 people in your conference room. I know people are leveraging title companies to invite their realtors so that the loan officer looks great in front of new realtors. And then we see these people doing larger events, but it's fewer people doing larger events. It's mainly people doing 5 to 25 people in their conference room or training rooms in their office.
Well, and since money is tight, think time of day. Don't be scheduling it at lunch, because then you'll be buying everybody's lunch. Schedule it in the middle of the afternoon or middle of the morning after they've already had breakfast, but before lunch.
We did y'all a favor, 1 to 3 p.m. Pacific time, so it makes it kind of easy for y'all. Just BYOB at the end of the day if you want to make it a happy hour.
Yeah. Love it. I did want to share, so through this whole process, I wrote a chapter in the Rethink book, and in that really is just 6 pages of what process did I go through to discover purpose and then find my passion again in the business. Not passionate about working 24/7, but really being intentional about how I'm doing business and living life. And then, how from a profit standpoint, how does that turn into making money? But through that whole process, I was writing those 6 pages. I was like, oh my gosh, there's no way I can do all of this in 6 pages and really give tactics like do this, do this, do this, do this. So it's like the whole step to the discovery. So what I ended up doing is creating these 2 journals where literally you can go and find your quiet place. This one is for purpose, personal purpose. This is for transferring what you learned about yourself into how do I plug that into my business. And so really it's an opportunity to sit quietly with yourself for those little short periods of time and just journaling 1 page at a time if that's all you have, or journaling the whole entire book in 1 afternoon, however you want to do it. It's your book, but it's a free download, and I'm just going to share the link, but I wanted to explain the link. So Todd, for me, education is a big deal. And so I have put together a way to stay connected with the real estate community through being a state licensed CE provider for Texas and Oklahoma. So I can't brand it out guild because I'm a state instructor, right? And so I had to create I chose to create a website that is RISE. So real estate or Realtor Inspired Strategic Education is what RISE stands for. So I'm going to share the link, but it's the link that I share whenever I am promoting myself as an educator. But scroll down in that link and you will find the free downloads for these 2. So if you're serious about really figuring out purpose and passion, I've got the resources for you.
And guys, for anyone watching this on YouTube, the link will be down below in show notes. Michelle, if you could share that link in chat here, there you go. We'll share it in the Facebook group, and we'll also make sure this link is in YouTube.
Shared it.
So Michelle, anything in particular that if you had to, drill it down to the 1 or 2 things that you feel like really propelled kind of the success that you're having right now with the number of apps that you're receiving, because not everyone's receiving that quantity of interest, or even, whether it's from the partners, because there's a lot of partners who have gotten out of the business. What would you say were those things that you are doing or have done that have helped you win right now?
Education. I am educating 3 to 5 times a week, and that is in small groups, that's in larger groups, that's in masterminds. I am in front of people all the time, and it's not about, do you have a loan for me today? Can you refer me a name and number? It's really just about serving and sharing my knowledge and resources and information. One thing that I wanted to change about the way I was doing business, I didn't want it to just be a referral. I wanted raving fans. I wanted people who truly believed that I was the person for their for their customer. I had a realtor call me the other day, and she said, I really like what you're doing. Content on social media has really helped too, is building that community on social media, being more present, being my authentic self, and sharing more has also helped with creating connection. And I think that's what it boils out down to, Deb. For me, it's all about the connections. I've just gone deeper with relationships because I've had more time to do that, right? And so the referrals coming to me are just, they're just stronger referrals. I mean, that's just made a big difference. I had a realtor call me the other day and she goes, I really like your stuff. And I attended one of your classes and I just really, I think you know what you're doing. And I just really like, I can just see your heart in this. So I'm going to add you to my list of lenders that I'm going to refer to you. I mean, and I said, can we talk about that? Because I don't want to be on a list. And she's like, oh, really? Why? And I said, well, let me just reframe this for you. So I stay really, really close to my database. And Deb, that's number 2. I stay super close to my database. And I have shifted my business to remind me to go back to that because there is a lot of strategy and intention around that. But I told her, I said, I stay really close to my database and I have a lot of opportunities to refer realtors business. And so when I know what type of client is your ideal client, and I know the area that you love to serve, then I have the opportunity to refer you business. But when I refer realtors, what if I said, hey, listen, yeah, I know you want to buy a house. Here's 3 people to go talk to. And go interview all 3 of them. And go spend some time with them. Maybe go look at a couple of houses. Be sure to call them in the evenings and the weekends and make sure they're available for you. And then after you spend all of that time, then ask them, how much are you going to charge me in commission? How much are you going to charge me to buy a house? And then you go with whoever you like that maybe charges you the least amount of money in commission. I said, what's going on right now in your industry, that's the way it's going to be. People are going to get to pick and choose who they want to work with based on what you're going to charge them. And so how about that's how I refer you business. Are you interested in those referrals? Are you interested? Were you willing to spend time with my referrals? And then they'll decide after they spend time with you and 2 other people. Oh, no, I wouldn't like that. And I said, neither do I. So let's get to know each other. And when you feel strongly that I am a good person for you to work with and that you trust me with your clients, then I want to be the only person that you refer them to when you have an opportunity to work, when we have an opportunity to work together. And here's what is an ideal client for me. So maybe you have other people that you work with and that's perfectly fine, but find out what it is that they do well. And then pick a loan officer that you trust your client with and only refer that loan officer. She goes, that makes a lot of sense. No one's ever told me that before. Most lenders are just excited to be on the list. Well, I said, I don't do business that way. So I think having the confidence to have that conversation is really important because I want relationships. I want deep connections. I don't want to just be one of a list.
And then the database, you were going to touch on that.
Yeah. So, Guild makes it super easy to stay close to our database, but I think HomeBot does too. So having those triggers and knowing who is house hunting before they even say, hey, I'm house hunting, because what is it? Deb, you probably know the stats. Do people start thinking about buying a house for like 6 months before they actually do?
Yes. And it starts online.
And it starts online. So getting those clues and then reaching out and staying close to your data, to your people whenever you see those clues. But then my anniversaries, I love my anniversary calls. And that is something that I take serious and celebrating my customers on their birthdays. Those have been really a focus for me for the last 2 years, and it's really paid off in how much repeat referral business I receive.
So do you still make those anniversary calls even if they have a 2.5% rate?
Yes, I do.
That's what I hear.
love those calls. Yes.
Good.
Absolutely.
Can you
So
walk us
how
through
do
the
those
script of
sound?
that?
Because yeah.
Okay, so whenever I make the anniversary calls, now my technology is a little bit different than other loan officers, but I'm looking at their transaction screen so I can see what type of loan they have, how much they're paying in mortgage insurance, what the rate is, all of the things. I'm pulling up HomeBot so I can see what the value of their home is, so I can celebrate. Hey, you guys did one heck of a deal with that low interest rate. Like, most of them, these are my customers. I'm calling them. I'm the one that put them in that low rate. So I get to do a little, I'm so glad you guys picked up on the phone whenever I called you and told you lock in at that rate. But I'm looking over your loan right now, and according to HomeBot, you guys are paying monthly mortgage insurance. And I really think that you have enough equity that you don't need to. And then that goes into that conversation. I'm also looking at your escrows down here, and it looks like your escrows, you might be a little short in your escrow account. Do you understand what that means? Do you know how much your insurance changed in the last year? Deb, you and I, good gosh, in Texas, it's like double. Property tax, so I go through all of the taxes and insurance and the escrows, and I explain to them again to pay attention. I go onto the tax site, make sure that they have filed for any exemptions that they qualify for, and talk through all of that. And then I just ask them, how's the house? You guys thinking about doing any projects this year? Gives me how have you guys managed inflation? My gosh, everything costs so much more now. So what are you guys doing to balance the budget at home? And, it allows me to have a conversation about it. It makes them feel empowered and feel good about the loan that they have. It makes them feel good about the equity they have sitting in their house. I'm teaching them something through their escrow conversation. I'm finding out whether they're looking, maybe I can do a HE loan for them or a cash out refinance. I'm reviewing their debts, and I get to educate them on finances. And then I just make sure, hey, do you guys have any money? Or is your money making money right now? Because it should. And then I get to have a conversation with them about, what are they doing to make sure that they're maximizing the money that they do have. So I love those calls. Those are my favorite calls. And if you're not doing them, you need to be.
How long does that call take? Is that a 10-minute call, a 30-minute call?
I have on my Calendly link, when my customers schedule for that call, it is a 15-minute phone call. And if they come in, I have them come in for 30 minutes. Because, I want to get a cup of tea or a cup of coffee with them and all of that stuff first.
Always takes longer in person, but I think y'all have to make sure you don't get, look, I'm talking with some Texans. Look at y'all. Hey, y'all need to think about it, right? So what I did last year when I did my 100K challenge, and it was all around calling your database, was I exported out of my fancy CRM into a spreadsheet, and I ran it off a spreadsheet, because you don't have to have it be fancy. Don't get yourself stuck in, oh, well, Michelle's got all this cool stuff that I don't have. You don't have that. You've got a list of who you close loans for. It's on your old commission, commission pay from last year. And even if you don't have the information, you can still call and have a conversation to see how they're doing. And then be excited for the ones who are going to stay there forever because they love what you did in their low mortgage, and be just equally as excited for the person who already refinanced without you because you haven't called them. And then use that as your motivation to call the next ones. But what you're going to realize is most of them are excited to hear from you, and they're really done. And I struggled. My calls were all about a half an hour each. For the people that I connected with in the past, and the ones who I didn't really know that well, they were like 10, 15 minutes, and they were a lot harder, but it's all another reason to make sure you're connecting really well with your clients when you're doing those loans.
Well, and you know what, Todd, sometimes you have to do the apology. I am so sorry. I've really been a terrible loan officer. I have not talked to you in 3 years, and I apologize for that. But, don't not make the phone call just because you hadn't been good at staying in touch. Kathy asked that question, how do you use HomeBot to touch with your clients? I send a video through HomeBot to my clients every single month. It's my letter of the heart, for anybody that's been in core before. I keep it under 3 minutes. It always, so that's one way I stay connected to my database through HomeBot. The open rate is phenomenal. So why not? But then also once a week with that activity report, they email you an activity report. So I just go to the activity report and call the clients that were active on HomeBot for the week.
Well,
yeah,
I had made
easy.
I had made a post earlier this week that I found from John Burns research. I found it on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it. And the title was, those born in the 1950s and 1960s have doubled their wealth in the last decade. And so my challenge to my clients today was to do a data sort of the clients that you have served that were born between that age range, because perhaps a gift of equity or gift funds could be the best thing they could do for their children who could still be living in their home, or are wanting so desperately to buy their first home, and maybe they even already have a kid. and they don't know how they could help their child. So if they've doubled their wealth, and if it fits within their, financial plan, that would be an easy thing to go either one to many, either on social or for a mass email or a video message. So that was one post that would be good to share even with your referral partners. But even when By Noon posted this week, and it wasn't to be like a Debbie Downer, but if you look at the death rate of baby boomers, so some of your conversations that you may be having with your database on these annual reviews could be, so tell me about your parents, how are they doing? What do they have set up? Because I had discovered when I was living in a rental for 6 months, we were in an old part of Allen, which is just a suburb close to where we are. And there were 3 deaths just in 6 months on our street. And I was like, and I kind of wanted to knock on the door and be like, not for nothing, but like, you guys have an agent? Because I know people that like would love to help y'all during this time. But they're like, nobody talks about, you have these 2 large demographics, and like, we usually hear about birth rates and household formations, but what about those who pass and millennials who are like, I have no idea what to do with the home. Like they may not even live in your state. So like incorporating that or finding ways to be strategic with asking those questions and putting them in your CRM so that, you're always filling the pipeline with that next opportunity when there's a need. So just a thought.
Yep. Just a thought. Always good thoughts from you.
It never ends.
No,
well, it's an interesting time, right?
Unless you're quiet in nature somewhere, wherever your place is.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting time, right? We're going to have the largest passing on of generational wealth, right? From whatever you call the older, the baby boomers that are all in the greatest generation, right? They're going to be passing a lot of wealth to younger folks, not all super young, right? I mean, my parents are in their 80s, right? So you're going to have, you're going to have people in their 50s and 60s inheriting money, but you're also going to have a lot of kids inheriting money that have no clue. And you are the closest thing that most of your clients have to a financial advisor. I've really been shocked with how many people I've talked to who don't understand that they need to trust in order to avoid probate. They feel like everything's going to happen because they have a scratch piece of paper that they call a will. And so there's just lots of things that you can do to help people be prepared. And I love that idea, Deborah, that you had of, hey, maybe there's an opportunity to help someone with a gift now to get into a home, right? We know home affordability is a tough one. There's a great read out there is a book called Die with Zero. And one of the things that impacted me from the book, of all the dozens of people I've talked to who've read it, everyone's got a different perception on it, but it's the whole idea that really when your kids are in their 30s and early 40s is really when they need the most financial help to kind of get a step up. And, it's made me look differently at how I treat money within my own family because I was raised with parents who have different ideas about money than I do. And so it's been kind of just fun to really think through these pieces. And if you're making the calls that we're talking about here that Michelle's doing, you can have this impact if you choose to be knowledgeable, if you choose to be vulnerable, if you choose to be bold, because you have to be bold in order to ask some of these questions that they're not talking about.
Yeah. But if you don't ask the questions, I mean, the thing is sometimes our lack of confidence allows us to ask those questions that could really change a life, right? Like just get over yourself and get uncomfortable at sharing. It's sharing, because holding back could really be hurtful to someone. I was thinking too, Deb, whenever you were talking, and Todd, when you were talking about like those anniversary calls and introducing or inviting them to Money Matters events, just because they've owned a home for 30 years doesn't mean they know everything about all of those things. So that just gave me an idea. I love to educate. So creating maybe it's a quarterly something where you're telling them about it and then inviting them to invite someone in their family who may be young. And, at the same time, they'll go, well, I need that information too. Well, come on.
Great idea.
It's just another, if you don't have all the tools and resources that I do available when I'm making those anniversary calls, then, it could be more about just going over the basic information and then inviting them to something that helps expand their knowledge and their minds and helps them in other ways. So it's another way of serving your community.
So how many classes do you say you do a month, Michelle?
A lot. I do, I am at least 3 to 5 a week. So what's that, 12 to 25? I
Wow.
mean, I'm at least once a day, I am typically teaching or leading, facilitating a mastermind. And I've really started enjoying the facilitation.
And you get enough attendance
conversation.
because I feel like when I'm speaking to loan officers, because I tell them, I don't tell them, but I advise that if you could do at least one agent class a month and one client facing class a month, like that is the goal. I like to do it or have them make it consistent where maybe it's the first Wednesday of every month, it's at the same time. And really, I got that idea from, yeah, that way they don't always have to know what it's about, but when you're positioned of value, they're like, oh yeah, it's just like these calls. That's where I got the idea from. Is most people, they don't even know who we're interviewing sometimes, but they know every Friday, at 9 a.m. Pacific, and so they show up. So doing the once a month, but sometimes loan officers are like, well, what if no one shows, or how do I get people there? I don't want there to just be one. And so do you ever get worried about being able to fill the room, or is it okay if it's just
I would
one?
be lying if I said, yeah, I worry about being the only one there, but at the same time, there's still power in the promotion, and if there's 1 or 2 people there, it's just a closer conversation. There's just better connection. If it's a room full, okay, so you had more people in front of you. I think that there's value either way, regardless of who shows up. If nobody shows up, then I just had time to create some content about what I was going to teach and then turn whatever it is that you were going to share into a virtual. So, I think there's still so much power in the promotion. You had something to talk about. You had something to post about. You had something to not fax, text or email, and all of the ways of promotion. I don't know where fax came from. I hadn't seen a fax in forever. And then it's content. You took the time to learn something new, or you took the time to create something and turn that into some content you can use then. I don't think it's wasted time. It's not failure.
And then do you have a strategy for post those events are you setting up one-on-ones afterwards, or?
Oh yeah. Okay. I'm so glad you asked. We could so deep dive on this. I'm very strategic and intentional about the way I do these. I mean, it's a whole system that I've created. So ask me the question again.
What is the follow-up strategy after you host an event?
So my goal is to be one-on-one with people. So I just offer business or marketing strategies. They can pick between the two. And my last slide is a QR code to my Calendly link where they can book their own appointment. So there's 2 slides at the end. The first slide is a QR code that goes to my Eventbrite. Everything I teach, I post on Eventbrite. So you can go to Michelle Castle Eventbrite and see all of my classes. And so what that does is it has them then sign up. Oh, well, you're having a class on that too. So they'll go ahead and sign up for multiple classes at one time. So anytime that I'm teaching, I'm always inviting them to the next class that I'm teaching. It minimizes the promotion, right? And then the next slide is encouraging them to schedule a one-on-one. And I do make that super simple with that Calendly QR code. So yes, that's my goal. And then I have a whole sequence of nurturing them afterwards. I mean, as soon as I have already lead captured them because they registered for my class on Eventbrite. So whether it's free or CE, it doesn't matter. The process is the same. And when they register, they have to put in their name, their phone number, email address, and mailing address so I can mail them a thank you card for attending. So, I mean, yes, there's a whole strategy behind all of what I do, which has helped build that community of connection and relationships. So.
Thank you. I just wanted to anchor that piece in because I also know there could be people listening who are like, I've done classes, tried it, doesn't seem to bring in any business. And what I have found is it's usually the lack of the ask at the end, or something that we've been working on, because I was guilty of this, as I would get in the friend zone, what I call it. And it's like, you got to get out of the friend zone of just giving value where you're not having the business conversation, or at least setting the expectation at the end that if, whether it's a one-on-one meeting or not, of let's take this to the next phase and let's explore if we would be a good partnership, and then say that we are a good partnership. Could I depend on you to send at least one referral a week? Doesn't have to approve, or qualify, but that being selective with who we truly partner with, not just being a vendor. So those of you listening, if you're not good at making that ask, know that all of us have probably been there, but that could be the biggest difference, that you just start to sandwich that in, you'll get a bigger lift from the activity that you could already be doing.
And Deborah, to your point, you've helped me on these classes, having someone come to the class to co-present with you is helpful too, because I'm gonna, if Deborah and I are teaching together, if we're co-teaching, then I'm gonna edify Deborah, and I'm gonna ask, hey, I know people are loving the information that you're providing, and they see that this is of value to them in their business, and they've decided they like you because you're pretty damn cool. And because of that, then they might learn to trust you in business. So how do they get a hold of you? So when you're co-teaching, if you are more intentional about that, then that person can do the ask for you, if you're scared to do the ask yourself.
Yeah, I think it's always who can I team up with if I'm not comfortable myself, right? We have so much content, right? You could take Dan Rawich's interview from a week or two ago, and you could just use his slides and present exactly what Dan said. You could get a title rep and have her or him invite their realtors in there and co-present with something with you. You're an expert on something other than loans. You can also present on loans. That's kind of boring, but I think there's other things that are out there that you can do that'll be of interest. But the bottom line is this, is that every real estate leader, whether they lead an office or a team, they want this education. Like, I'm going to go in with Shay, who runs my old pipeline, to a real estate team and walk them through. We're just going to do Q&A on loan stuff. Now, that's super boring to me, but that's all right. I will come up with some other tie into first home IQ and financial literacy, and then I'll use that as the follow-up. Now I'm going to steal one from Michelle Castle. I don't ever give out my Calendly link, but now I think what I'll do is I'll just put because we'll be sitting at a table. There'll be, I think, 15 or 20 agents there, and I'll just put a QR code on a piece of paper that has my loan partner's contact card, and it'll have my Calendly link. If someone wants to schedule a higher level call with me, then I'll pass that around, everyone will have to shoot it. We'll make it be obligatory. And so just think about it. It's not that difficult. There's someone you can call that you could go talk to in the next week or two.
Yeah, exactly. Todd, just hint, you don't have to, on your Calendly link, you can create a QR code just specific for that calendar invite you're willing to let someone book.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, because I have 15.
So if it's a 15-minute annual review, the QR code could just go to that. If it's a business strategy and all you're willing to give. Oh, yeah.
That is amazing. All right, so we have 2 minutes left, and this has just flown by. Any last minute thing that we forgot to ask you about that you wanted to make sure you covered, Michelle?
I don't think so. I mean, several people have asked, someone had asked about a Facebook group, and I'm not real sure what if they're talking about your Facebook group or not. So you might want to answer that.
I'll find the Trust Engine Facebook group and send everyone that way.
Okay, cool. No, I just, really, you guys, there is so many ways to do this business. I just think that getting clarity around how you want to serve people, who you enjoy serving, and allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to do more of that is really, that's just what I wanted to make sure that people got out of this call. Like, design a business around doing more of what you love doing.
Love, love, love it. Looks like Deborah is off, and she is teaching exactly what to say today. So I'm super excited to hear how that goes. Always, always, Michelle, it is awesome to have you on. See your smiling face. You are just a lightning in a bottle, massive energy, massive ideas. And so I would just encourage you all. I mean, the bottom line is this: you just invested an hour of your time, or maybe less if you watch this on YouTube and sped up your video. But the bottom line is that there's actionable ideas here that you can go out and get loans, right? It's not unique that Michelle's got a pipeline of loans now when she's doing the activities that actually create the activity. or create the loans and create the follow-up. And so I would just encourage you all to think through what it was that Michelle said. We'll make sure that you've got the link to her download for her RISE program. I think that'll be really helpful for anyone who's really struggling to figure out where they're trying to head. And then, as always, Michelle, you are a gift to our community. It's great seeing you, and look forward to the next time we see each other in person.
Absolutely. I'm easy to find. Hit me up if you have questions.
There we go. All right. On behalf of myself and Dave and the Trust Engine team, Deborah and her plug and play staff, thanks everyone. We'll see you next week.